Well, this past weekend, there were pride parades all across the country, documentaries on TV about gay marriage, all over the place, positive images from gay communities across America. Everywhere but on CNBC. The gaffe came during a discussion with New York Times columnist and CNBC contributor Jim Stewart, who was on to talk about his latest piece dealing with corporate culture and gay executives. Take a listen for when CNBC co-anchor Simon Hobbs chimes in.
There are gay CEOs of major companies, and I reached out to many of them, and I have to say I got an extremely cool reception. Not one would allow to be named in the column.
I think Tim Cook is fairly open about the fact that he's gay at the head of Apple, isn't he?
No.
Dear, was that an error?
Wow.
I don't know. I thought not. I think he's very open about it.
The New York Times tried very hard to bring that to the fore in the recent story.
I don't want to comment about anybody who might or might not be, because I'm not going to out anybody, and I called a lot of people, and no one at any major company would allow their names to be used.
The awkwardness in that moment was palpable. We've talked about the danger of outing people on this program before and how that can be a horrible situation when that happens in a story. We saw that in a Grantland piece about 6 months ago that was linked to the suicide of a transgender woman. This is a bell you can't unring.
No. And it's really unfortunate because sometimes when you're in broadcast for a while, I think you get too comfortable with being on camera, and I think you forget that the camera is there, and you start to have conversations with people that you have every day in a way that you might do in the break room or whatever, and in this moment you do it. Now, that having been said, it would be great if in this day and age, and I know you'll want to weigh on this too, that this didn't matter, that this wasn't even a discussion that made headlines, that there was no outing or not outing, that people felt comfortable. That isn't the case clearly yet.
Yes, and like you said, the idea of being comfortable on air, this struck me as like cocktail party chatter, which really should not matter about the financial performance of this person's company. And when it's done on air, it feels like a witch hunt, which I agree would be much better if it weren't the case. But you cannot go into somebody's personal life without them bringing it up.
So there is an interesting piece that our audience can take a look at on our links blog under the talk shows tab at KBIA.org. When can you ask a public figure about their sexual orientation? Is there ever a time when that matters or is relevant?
If you're talking about whether somebody can lead a company, or in the case that we're going to talk about with the Matt Lauer situation, whether they're capable of, dealing with a crisis, I don't think their personal lives matter. They would have to bring that up in order for it to be relevant.
And to answer the question more specifically, when it becomes a part of the news process, when there are other contributing factors that make that element now more newsworthy, something happens in some way, shape, or form that now elevates that part of their profile to a more newsworthy status, then you start to talk about it. Until then, it really shouldn't be relevant to anything.